Hey folks, Shaw here with Royal Tiger Imports, and today I'm here to show you all some more CZ75 and their variants. In front of me I've got a handful of CZ85s, as well as in this crate I've got some CZ75B, and finally off on this pallet I've got some CZ75D, the compact version. But without further ado, let's get a close look at some of the variants we're working with here out of this recent import. Starting off, this is a CZ75B. So this is going to be a little bit later in terms of your CZ development. Of course, you first had the standard 75, but then they introduced not long after the CZ75B. It's still a very similar gun to the original 75, but it had some modifications like a firing pin update for the firing pin block to make it overall a safer gun, as well as some minor other changes. This particular one was made in 1994. So if we look back on the other side, you can see that by this point it says made in Czech Republic, not made in Czechoslovakia. It also has some of your later features like the ribbed for shooting trigger guard, and overall, just again, very slick guns. These CZ75s are wonderful pistols, chambered in standard 9mm Luger. Other than that, it's pretty similar to a standard CZ75. Of course, you can find every single little variation and detail, etc. on some of the forums online, but right now I just want to show you some of the cursory details that you notice at first glance. Moving on, we've got some Model 85s. This one in particular stuck out to me because this is still marked made in Czechoslovakia. Check that out. So that is, and not only in addition to that, it's also blued. It's really interesting. I've not seen many of the CZ85s like this whatsoever. This one is actually, it's a very early date. That's well, relatively early for what it is. It's a 9, and it's a little hard to tell on the back end of the digit there. But that being said, very interesting to see on an 85. In addition, on the 85s, you'll see that they introduced the ambidextrous slide release, like that. So you've got on both sides your slide release now, as well as your ambidextrous safety lever. Otherwise, there's a few other small updates that they did to these. They do retain that larger non-rounded trigger guard, double action, single action, standard 9. Great shooting guns. And also, what's interesting about these is that they have upgraded sights. They also feature on these, even this earlier one, this screw for windage adjustment, as well for mass windage adjustment, and a little bit more of a beefed up, enlarged rear sight. Very slick looking guns. And while we're at it, let's get a look at some of the later 85. That's what you see for your later finish. So you see, of course, the more of a flat black or a satin black enamel coat on it. Now this one, you can also see some differences. This one has a more traditional style hammer, like a spur hammer. The one that we were just looking at has a commando style, a rounded off hammer. But otherwise, pretty standard CZ85 features. And finally, let's get a look at the CZ75Ds. Many of these came in their cases, and would you look at that? That is in not too bad a shape. Let's move one out of the way so we can fold our case out completely. That is our, again, CZ75D. This particular one is made in 2002. It's marked 02 with a Circle T stamp. You may have seen the Circle T stamp on some other guns, such as post-World War II K98 Mausers, another interesting vintage guns. It still retains that production stamp. 9mm, made in Czech Republic. You'll notice the introduction of a rail at the bottom. But some of the more familiar features that we see, we've also see some front checkering, as well as the standard rear checkering. And it's worth noting the lower part of the frame is slightly shorter than a standard model, as well as, of course, the front end. This is overall a more compact model, as you see designated there. Tell you what, this would make a pretty good daily carry gun as well. The size and the handling is quite nice, but even if you're bringing it to the range and shooting it at just a regular paper target, it's also large enough to where it's not trying to jump out of your hand. So definitely something to keep an eye out on. And some of these even have spare magazines, loaders, just interesting little accessories that come in with some of the pistols that we've seen. And let's get a closer look at just a couple others so you see what we're working with here. So we got another one. Again, some of them have brushes and cleaning jags. Very slick looking guns. And these rubberized grips as well make it a little bit easier to get a nice purchase on the grip. And we see that one is made in 2000. This is fairly early on because they introduced these in 1997 to the consumer market. And you also notice it's a 14 round magazine compared to what is usually a 15 or 16 on your larger CZ frame guns. And lastly, let's just get one more look at one more of these. And pretty much the exact same thing, although interesting enough, the markings vary a little bit on this one. This is a 2008 marked gun, so that's a little bit later. That's about a decade into the first manufacture of these. So folks, just wanted to show you what we're working with here. We not only got in the standard CZ75s, both the early blued ones and then the later CZ75s with the enamel finish that you saw in the previous videos, but we also got in a little bit of everything else.